Hi friends, it's Kunal, founder and CEO of Coursetake and author of the book Company and Position Specific Interview Prep. I hope you're having a wonderful day. Welcome back to our training session where we're talking about how do you ace your upcoming interview. You know, we've talked about in the past few video lectures about how do you take this complicated process on acing your interview and really break it down into a step-by-step process that anyone can follow to go ahead and ace their upcoming interview. And this video is just a continuation of that entire series. So we've already gone through 4 steps of our 8-step core interview mastery framework, and we're at step number 5. And step number 5 here is all about practicing for those main question types. So you've got to start looking at the main question types that you need to really start practicing for before your upcoming interview. Now I'm going to tell you right now that if you take a look at the question types that I tell you about, there are 8 main question types that we're going to cover about in this video today, and I'm going to give you just a high level on those 8 main question types, and then in future videos we're going to talk about each question type in great detail. But if you study those 8 main question types, if you practice those 8 main question types, if you go in there knowing at least those 8 main question types, trust me, 80 to 90% of all interview questions are going to be from those 8 main question types, and the remaining 10 to 20% might be very specific to your job role. You know, maybe some technical questions related to your job or something that's very specific to that particular company. But look, hey, if you can ace the first 80 to 90% and then leave about 10 to 20%, that gives you an 80% chance to win your interview, right? So that's the whole point of this. So make sure that but don't worry, we're going to cover that 10 to 20% as well, as part of the entire course. But let's focus on that 80 to 90%, which if you practice really well, you can absolutely go in there and come out a winner. Okay, so that's what we're going to talk about. So let's talk about the 8 main question types in this video, and then we're going to talk about a bunch of other question types later on. And these 8 main question types are basically summarized here on this board right here. So let's go through the 8 main question types in great detail. So the first question type is, tell me about yourself. Okay, so this is probably one of the most important questions that you need to practice for, irrespective of whether you have an interview, it's a phone interview, it's your on-site interview, it's your initial phone screen with a recruiter, if you're going to meet someone on a career campus fair, or if you're just networking. You've got to nail this question type. Okay, you've got to make sure that you are able to answer any introductory questions about yourself. So these are the icebreaker questions, those initial questions that are normally asked. Tell me about yourself, or hey, what brings you to the table here? Why are you interested in our company? Like just those initial questions that will just get the ball rolling. And the reason this question is so important is because it serves as an icebreaker. It serves as a way to be able to kickstart the entire interview process. If you start this question type really well with a lot of confidence, it's going to showcase to the interviewer that this person is an extremely confident person, and you start controlling the pace of how the interview goes. So it's important to be able to understand and answer the tell me about yourself question type really well. And in the next video, future videos, we're going to look at how do you answer this appropriately. I'll give you a framework on how to think through the tell me about yourself question types, but for now, just remember that you've got to understand this question type really well. The second question type that we have is why questions. Okay, so you want to be able to be crystal clear on the why, and here are what you need to practice for. You need to practice for why do you want this particular job, why do you want to join this particular company, and why do you want to join this particular industry. Okay, so those are the 3 things that you need to focus on. Again, in future videos I'll show you a framework on how to answer them, but you've got to be crystal clear on the why. Why do you want to be here? Why do you want to come here? What does this company have to offer you that you can't get somewhere else? What can you offer this company because of which they should hire you? So you've got to be crystal clear on your why, and you have to practice for those why questions really well. So that's the second question type, it's why. The third question types are your strengths and weaknesses. You've got to be crystal clear on what are your strengths. What are your strengths? What qualifies you to come to this job and apply for this particular role? Why should they hire you? What do you bring to the table here? That's what this question type is trying to answer. And your weaknesses are you being emotional, you being vulnerable, you knowing that you're not some cocky kind of person out there, that you understand that you're human, you have certain weaknesses, and you're working towards them. So being able to clearly identify your strengths and your weaknesses, be able to clearly identify them, and remember those strengths have to align to what you can bring to the job, because you don't want to have your own personal strengths. You want strengths that will align to what this job really requires from you. And then weaknesses too should not be weaknesses that the job definitely needs you to perform on. So if there's a core responsibility of the job and that's your primary weakness, maybe that's not the best weakness that you should be speaking about. Okay, so we're going to talk about that in future videos as well. How do you really position yourself and position your strengths appropriately? How do you position your weaknesses appropriately? We're going to talk about that. The fourth question are your goals questions. Again, related to this why piece of it. Look, where do you want to go in the future? What's your long-term goal? What's your short-term goal? And why is this position and this company the next right step for you towards getting you towards your long run? That's what's important. That's what we're trying to answer here. So it's really important to be crystal clear on what that long-term goal is for yourself and why this next step, which is your short-term goal, makes real good sense for you to take towards that long term. So that's what we're going to focus on the goals question. Okay, so tell me about yourself, icebreaker, why questions, why this company, why this industry, why this particular position, your strengths, what do you bring to the role, what are your weaknesses, why are you vulnerable, your goals, what's your long-term goal, what's your short-term goal, what's that next step you want to make to get you towards that long term, and why this company really makes sense, why this position makes sense for you. Then number 5 is tell me about a time. Now we're going to get into the meat of those key responsibilities of the job profile. So if you remember in the previous video, we talked about the job description. I told you to, highlight certain key responsibilities, and I said think about examples that you might get asked about the job description. That's what this is all about. Tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer. Tell me about a time when you had to work with a difficult coworker. Tell me about a time when you failed at something. How do you answer these tell me about a time questions that are related to the job in hand is what we're going to see in question type number 5. So you've got to be crystal clear. You've got to understand the job responsibility. You've got to understand all the different types of tell me about a time questions, which we'll see again in future videos, and you've got to be able to answer them correctly. There's a framework that I'm going to teach you, which is called the SGAR framework, which will help you which is a framework that I developed, which will help you answer these questions really, really well and will get you the job immediately. Okay. Number 6 is culture and values. When we looked at the video around studying the company, I said, look, you've got to study the mission, the vision, the culture, the values of the company. Now it's your time to really showcase to the interviewer, why are you a good cultural fit to this company? Why are you a good values fit to this company? And that's exactly what we're going to see here. Because look, it's all about your strengths, your motivations, and your fit. If you remember some of the previous videos, I've said, look, in order to be able to get a job at a particular company, you've got to think about the entire interview process in terms of 3 different pillars. Your strengths, can you do the job, your motivation, your whys, and then the third piece is your fit. Will they really enjoy working with you? Is this the right culture and value fit for you? That's what we're going to see here. You've got to make sure that you answer appropriately. Why are you a good fit for this particular company? That's what we're going to see in culture and values. Number 7, which is just an extra, your resume. You've got to understand your resume in and out. Now, hopefully, by the time you get to number 7, you should have covered all your resume questions. So any question that's asked in your resume, you should have already been covered through this entire process. But if not, if there's something extra in your resume that's not been covered through the first 6 questions, we're going to look at them here because I want you to make sure that you're completely rounding off the entire picture. Any question is fair game on your resume, and I'm going to show you how to look at your resume and what are the kind of questions that you should be practicing from your resume. Trust me, employers are smart these days. They'll pick a random point in your resume and they're going to say, tell me about what that technology is, or tell me about that project. They'll talk about anything. There was this one interviewer that caught me completely off guard and found one word in my resume and asked me to explain that for an entire hour. In one of my interviews. So you've got to make sure that you're prepared for that. And finally, the 8th type is what would you do? What would you do questions are hypothetical questions, and a lot of interviewers are asking them these days. Now, tell me about a time was about experiences that you've had. Tell me about a time when you did X. So for example, tell me about a time when you had to deal with a difficult customer. A similar question in the what would you do category would be, what would you do if a difficult customer walked into the door? What would you do in that particular case? And so these are more hypothetical situational questions, and tell me about a time were real world situational questions. So you've got to practice a bunch of hypothetical questions that you may be asked if you don't have that experience in terms of tell me about a time. Because you may not have worked before. Maybe you're fresh out of school right now and you don't have that experience. So they might ask you hypothetical questions on what would you do in this particular case. So again, we're going to see how do you answer these type of questions in future videos. So that's it, my friends. You've got to practice these 8 main question types really well in order to be able to ace your upcoming interview. And if you understand these 8 main question types, I have no doubt that you will come out an absolute winner. So in future videos, we're going to continue and look at each of these question types in great detail. We're going to look at them in much more detail. Then we'll continue on with our 8 steps as part of our core interview mastery program. So I hope this helped served you well. I hope you enjoyed this video. Best of luck, my friends. I know you'll do extremely well in your interview process. I know you are fantastic. Again, this is Kunal signing off, founder and author of the book Company and Position Specific Interview Prep. I hope you have a great day. Take care. See you. Bye.